for the second time in less than 2 years, a vocal critic of Russian President Vladimir Putin is in a coma and close to death. His name, Vladimir Karamurza. Today, his lawyer said that Karamurza is in critical condition and on a ventilator. So what happened to him? Well, with no clear medical explanation, his lawyer believes that Karamurza was intentionally poisoned again. CNN senior international correspondent Matthew Chance joins me now. And Matthew, you interviewed him back in 2015 when he said somebody tried to kill him. Back then, the Kremlin denied any involvement. What does the Kremlin have to say this time?
You know, it's incredible, really, because they've not condemned this, they've not criticised it. They've acted, to the best of my knowledge, Jake, they haven't even mentioned it in the past several days since this latest issue has emerged, and since Vladimir Karamurza has been in a medically induced coma, which is astonishing given the amount of attention that this catastrophe from his point of view is getting overseas, internationally, particularly in the United States. Senator Marco Rubio issuing a scathing statement earlier today when it emerged that Vladimir Karamurza's condition, as you just mentioned, was still critical. Here's what he said: I urged the Trump administration, including Secretary of State Tillerson, to make Karamurza's cause America's cause, and ultimately hold Putin accountable if he was targeted by the regime. And so Senator Rubio suggesting that this is an important test, just like Ukraine is, in fact, an important test of the relationship between Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, and Donald Trump of the United States. Now, there's mystery surrounding the cause of this illness. Doctors still don't know why Vladimir Karamurza his organs are failing so dramatically and so suddenly. But as you mentioned, I interviewed him back in 2015, shortly after he'd recovered from the first bout of this illness. And he told me he was absolutely convinced that he had been intentionally poisoned for political reasons. Take a listen.
Well, frankly, there is no other possible reason. You know, I don't have any money dealings. I didn't have any personal enemies. I didn't steal anybody's wives, you know, things like that. The only possible motive in my case is political activity.
But political activity, particularly in a country which has, of course, Jake, such a poor record, a terrible, appalling record when it comes to killing critics of the Kremlin.
And Karamurza was friends with Boris Nemtsov. Nemtsov was one of Russia's most high-profile opposition leaders. He was shot to death 2 years ago this month, right near the Kremlin. Karamurza was in Russia promoting a documentary about Nemtsov. Could the alleged poisoning be connected to that, I guess?
Well, I mean, I guess so. If not to the actual promotion of the documentary, then to the general political activities of Vladimir Karamurza. You're right, he's in Moscow. He normally lives in the United States, in Virginia, in fact, but he's promoting this documentary coming nearly 2 years after the assassination of Boris Nemtsov on that bridge just outside the Kremlin walls. But of course, Vladimir Karamurza says himself he's a political activist, he's a Kremlin critic. He heads the Boris Nemtsov Foundation, which was set up to carry on the work of the assassinated politician. And he's also the sort of the face of one of the biggest political opposition groupings in Russia as well, called Open Russia. And so there are plenty of reasons why he could have been targeted in a country like that.
Matthew Chance, thank you so much. Appreciate it as always. Moving ahead and rolling back, how Republicans...